My question for all of us, can we actually define time? Now, if you have a watch, you can go and say, well, I know what time it is. Well, that's what's time for you. My question is, what time is it for humanity? Define time. How do we measure time? That's the question for this video. Because as it turns out, we humans really have no idea what time is. It is an illusion. Time, we always think, is supposed to be the constant. It's what we measure our lives by. It is how we will be remembered. How long did you live? And what did you do in your allotted time? And was that time the same length of time that a person, let's say, born 10,000 years ago? Yeah. I'm going to show you how time truly is an illusion. We look at time so often in the literature that we read and write. And we're not the first generation to realize how elusive time truly is. Oddly enough, us humans, us Homo sapiens sapiens, we do it all the time. That is, even now, time is being altered. We alter time ourselves. And yet, we will argue that a day is a day. By God, that's how it is. Always has been. In fact, you will actually read that that's how God measured out the universe and made the earth, according to a set time, a day. But really, when you look at it, how accurate is that? Now, this was really interesting when the United States began to mess with time. And read this. This is how it was initially sold to the American public. Important. Alteration of time. Alteration of time. Seems like we do this all the time. And the thing about it is, not all humans agree on what time it is. Why, it depends on where you live in the world as to what time is time. It would seem that time is definitely nonlinear in this case, because it can be, let's take, for example, let's say you're living out here in the Indian Ocean. Well, everybody else is in this time, but you're not in that time. Your time is of another like time of someone else who is in a different time zone. Now, that is weird. Look how we divide time up. And oddly enough, depending on where you were born, your time could be altered depending where you were born. So 24 hours to a day, right? That's what we're taught. That's how we measure time. That's how everything is structured. 24 hours a day. That's how it was. I mean, look at your holy books, look at all your history books. It will tell you that, well, time was based on a 24-hour day. Oh, really? Well, not so fast, bucko. Seems like that may not be accurately correct. It seems on Earth, a day was once only 18 hours. Now, when you begin to put in an additional 6 hours, no matter how you look at it over a short period of time, and if in fact humans were walking on the earth, then we can say categorically that time has been altered. So, who is the culprit? This is why. Yeah. That thing that never rotates, but yet stays up there, defies the laws of gravity, it seems like this, whatever you want to call it, a satellite, artificial satellite, we call it the moon, seems like this has much more, how shall we say, influence on us than we have ever realized. The moon changes time on Earth. And here's an article that I'll show you on this. So this is an article from the University of Wisconsin at Madison. And here is a group of scientists that have determined through a model that they have created that the moon at one time was a lot closer to the Earth. We can get into that subject, but staying on point here. Now, they're saying that this is a period over 1.4 billion years. There's question now even to if our time is correct. But nevertheless, what their model has shown was that when the moon was much closer to the Earth, it basically had the effect of the Earth spinning faster. Therefore, the day was shortened to 18 hours, they estimate thereabouts. And today, it is now stretching further. Probably in another 10 million years, the moon will be far enough away that we would probably be experiencing probably a 25, maybe a 26-hour day. Now, that will really screw things up. I'll leave the link here. You can read it for yourself, but it goes to show you how we're beginning to see how something like a celestial object of a moon has an influence on our time. So, as you can see, even now, our moon is influencing Earth. It's moving further away. As the article gave the analogy as an ice skater and a ballerina, as they open their arms in a spin, they will slow down. Well, apparently, as the moon moves further away from the Earth is slowing even more. Now, we can only begin to speculate what type of changes that will have on the Earth. Could you imagine? They eventually say the moon will no longer be here. So think about it. Time is not always now. Because even as we look at time, time is being stretched, elongated. Even if it's a micromillisecond, it's still being altered and changed. Time is not always now. So, what do we do now? How do we begin to reconcile this with when we begin to get into these debates about mankind's past? How we begin to get so, how shall we say, wrapped around the axle when we think that we're absolutely right, that this is what history is showing. I can show you this rock, and realize that our very perception of time itself is in all likelihood wrong. And any conclusion that is drawn from an absolute of a historical event, most likely by the same scenario, would be wrong. So how old are you?